Can you see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Great. So hi everyone, I'm Joan Rey and I'm glad to participate today to this meeting. I will present you what I'm aiming to do during my thesis. As you can see, this thesis has a provisional title, a composite title, because there's two main tasks. So this typical indoor aerosols influence on radon measurements and identification of radon-prone buildings through different methods. So just a few words about me and the context I'm working now. So I'm from Switzerland and I'm doing my PhD between two Swiss university, which are EPFL in Lausanne and HES in Fribourg. Before working in the radon field, I followed bachelor and master's degrees in environmental science in Lausanne and Geneva with a specialization in climatology. The specificity of my thesis is that RadoNorm does not cover the entire part of my thesis. So I'm currently working and I will work on other projects on the Swiss level during my whole thesis. So the thesis will be like a pattern of different projects and objectives. So here you can have a look at the structure of the thesis. So the first task is aiming to assess the influence of aerosols, specifically typical indoor aerosols, like for example, candles, cooking, air fresheners, or smoking on both passive and active radon measurements. This task is related to the subtask 2.1.1 of RadoNorm. The second task is the identification of an optimal method to identify high indoor radon levels. And this task is related to 2.4 and 2.4.2 subtasks of RadoNorm. As I said, there will be other projects that will complete the thesis content, but they need to be defined until the next years. So now I'm going to go deeper within the two first tasks. So the task one is aiming to assess typical indoor aerosols influence on both passive and active methods. So this summer, I will be carrying out a big intercomparison of radon sensors under typical environmental conditions. So I will generate different aerosols types and then compare the influence on the measured radon concentrations. This experiment will be carried out in a laboratory environmental chamber in Fribourg. And then for the next years, I will replicate this experiment to confirm or affirm our results. The aim is to carry out similar experiments within houses, schools, or workplace to compare our lab result to field results. Ultimately, we're aiming to this task to give recommendation of which type of sensors is better to use in a defined and known environments. So here we can have a look at the climate chamber that we have in Fribourg. So this is a fully controlled chamber. So we have controlled on temperature, humidity, pressure, ventilation rate, air supply. We can generate, for example, CO2 if we want to provide studies on CO2, but on our study, we will generate radon within this chamber to simulate indoor conditions. And the intercomparison will take place within this chamber. The second task is aiming to find the optimal method to identify high indoor radon levels. So based on the different data sets, such as, for example, building characteristics, geological data, climatical and meteorological data, pedology too. We will look for different methods through different methods and and identify which one is the best to look for to identify high indoor radon levels. So far through the literature, I already found some methods, some great categories of methods that are regressive models, geostatistical tools, classifications tools, and machine learning tools. So in the next years, we will go through these methods with all the partners of the subtask 2.4 to identify which methods is the optimal one to predict high indoor radon levels. So thank you for listening to me. And if you have any questions.
Okay, thank you very much.